Just a few days ago in the Champions League quarterfinals, Real Madrid faced the monumental task of coming back from a 3-0 defeat against Arsenal. One of those classic deficits you very rarely see overturned. And yet, there was a strange confidence, not just from the players, but from the commentators, the fans, and the haters alike. Deep down, everyone who watches football knew better than to write them off. Because if there's one club you never count out, it's Real Madrid, especially at the Bernabeu. They've pulled it off so many times before, it's become part of their identity. But not this time. Instead, Arsenal held firm, structured, disciplined, and unyielding. There wasn't even a single moment where it seemed like they might turn it around. And in the silence after the final whistle, there was a strange realization. We had come to expect the impossible. But why? What is it about comebacks that captivates us? And why do certain teams, certain stadiums, and certain players seem to breed these moments of footballing sorcery? If you look at the numbers, dramatic comebacks are statistically improbable. But that doesn't mean they don't happen. Historically, the Champions League has been the stage for some of football's most memorable comebacks. From Liverpool's iconic 2005 final in Istanbul to Barcelona's miraculous 6-1 victory over PSG in 2017, these moments defy logic and statistics alike. In fact, out of 47 instances in UCL knockout ties where teams faced a 3-goal deficit after the first leg, 5 teams have successfully overturned it, which is around a 10% success rate. Pretty rare, but it can happen, which is exactly why we've seen clubs carve their names into football history with miraculous turnarounds. Madrid, Juve, the previously mentioned Barca and Liverpool, and yes, even Deportivo La Coruña, who in 2004 overturned a 4-1 deficit against Milan to win 5-4 on aggregate. But how? Is it mere chance? Or is there something deeper at play that explains why some clubs, in some moments, simply refuse to accept defeat? To truly understand the anatomy of a comeback, we need to go beyond statistics and look deeper into what drives these extraordinary performances. Because, as it turns out, there's actually some science behind the madness. For decades, comebacks were seen as emotional outliers, random outbursts of brilliance that couldn't really be explained. But in the past few years, that thinking has changed. Because when researchers started digging deeper, across sports, and even outside them, they started noticing patterns. Comebacks weren't just spontaneous magic, they had rules. A 2021 study published in the Journal of Applied Psychology found that comebacks often start when the underdog team perceives momentum, not as a feeling, but as something observable. A loose touch, a sloppy clearance, a goal that feels like it came too easily. The moment the dominant team shows vulnerability, the trailing team stops chasing and starts believing. And belief, as it turns out, might be the single most underrated variable in sport. Psychologists call it collective efficacy, the shared conviction among a group that they can achieve a goal together. According to a 2002 meta-analysis, teams with high collective efficacy perform significantly better under pressure, especially when trailing. That's why so many comebacks aren't just tactical shifts, they're emotional tipping points. One spark, one moment of courage, and everything starts to tilt. Interestingly, another recent study published in Frontiers in Psychology dug even deeper into this. Researchers analyzed elite soccer teams' performances during different match status periods in comeback scenarios. They found that successful comebacks often hinge on brief, high-intensity periods, transitional moments where teams can capitalize on their opponent's hesitation or disorganization. These bursts of intensity, like Georginio Wijnaldum's 122-second double against Barcelona or Neymar's flurry of late goals against PSG, are where matches flip. What the study also suggests is that the best teams know how to shift their tactical posture at just the right time, balancing risk with control, and attacking not with desperation, but with synchronized intensity. Think back to PSG versus Barcelona in 2017. Barca were already up 3-0 when Edinson Cavani scored for the Parisians in the 62nd minute. At that point, PSG had a 3-goal aggregate advantage and all the momentum. But then, Neymar, a free kick in the 88th, an ice-cold penalty in the 91st. And then, in the 95th minute, he has the nerve to fake out a defender before chipping the ball into the box for Sergi Roberto to direct into the back of the net. It wasn't just a comeback, it was an avalanche. And once it starts, there's almost nothing you can do to stop it. That tipping point, where belief overrides circumstance, is the engine behind every great comeback. This past week, we saw 2 more nearly unfold. At Villa Park, PSG jumped out to a 2-0 lead in the second leg, seemingly ending the tie early. But Aston Villa refused to quit. They clawed back with 3 goals, 2 of them in rapid succession, and in the end came within inches of forcing extra time. It wasn't just a good performance, it was a momentum landslide. And in Germany, Borussia Dortmund almost pulled off the impossible as well. Down 4-0 from the first leg, they came out swinging against Barcelona. Serhou Guirassy scored a hat-trick. The yellow wall roared, and for a moment, it felt like the comeback might just be on. Barcelona survived, just barely, but those games reminded us, momentum and the tipping point are real, and when they arrive, even the best teams in the world can unravel in minutes. But belief alone isn't enough. To complete a comeback, especially in a competition as unforgiving as the Champions League, teams need to do more than just dream. They need to disrupt, and that disruption often starts on the touchline. Tactical risk becomes necessity. Managers push fullbacks higher. Center backs start stepping up into the midfield. Everything becomes more direct, more vertical, more urgent. The entire system shifts from control to chaos. And chaos, for the team trying to protect a lead, is the last thing they want. Take Roma versus Barcelona in 2018. Barcelona came into the second leg with a comfortable 4-1 advantage. It was supposed to be done and dusted. But Roma's coach Eusebio Di Francesco switched to an ultra-aggressive 3-4-1-2, pressed high, and flooded the box. Roma scored early, then again, and in the 82nd minute, Manolas sealed the comeback with a header that sent the Olímpico into delirium. That wasn't luck, it was pressure, applied relentlessly and tactically. But there's even more factors when it comes to making the impossible happen on the pitch, things that are less measurable, like the crowd. Studies have shown that home advantage isn't just about familiarity or travel fatigue, it's about referee bias. A 2002 analysis by the University of Wolverhampton found that referees were significantly more likely to award fouls and penalties in favor of home teams when crowd noise was higher. It might be subconscious, but it's definitely real. Because when 60,000 people are screaming for a handball or calling for time wasting to be punished, officials start making different decisions. And in high-stake games, those margins add up. So the perfect storm for a comeback is not just belief, not just tactics, not just a crowd. It's a Molotov cocktail of them all. And if there's one club that has mastered the art of that perfect mix, it's Real Madrid. Since 2016, Madrid have come from behind to win knockout ties 7 times, far more than any other club in Europe. In 2022 alone, they pulled off 3 comebacks in 3 consecutive rounds: PSG, Chelsea, and Manchester City, often in the final minutes, often after being written off. They don't just survive these moments, they thrive in them. The Bernabeu becomes a cauldron, the players feed off the energy, and the belief becomes an instinct. And that's the magic. They've turned that belief into a system of late winners, of never saying die, and of refusing to respect the odds. So maybe that's why we believed Madrid would pull it off again. Because although it might not always happen, it does happen often enough to make you wonder. There's no way they're gonna do it again. Right? As always guys, thank you for watching. Don't forget to leave a like if you enjoyed the video, and subscribe for more content just like this.